This is what dialed-in email flows should look like. And yet, most brands think that they've got their flows covered just because they've set it up a few years ago and never touched them since. But what they don't realize is that it's costing them thousands of dollars every single day. After working with over 150 e-commerce brands and generating over $100 million in email revenue, my team and I have perfected 7 core flows that every single e-commerce brand needs to have, including yours. And in this video, I'm going to break down each one in extreme detail, explaining what they are, why they work, and when to send them. These are the exact flows that have helped our clients generate 40 to 50% of their total revenue coming from email alone. Let's get into it. The moment someone joins your list, whether through a pop-up or a sign-up form, is your single biggest opportunity to form a connection. And this is exactly where your welcome series comes in. This is arguably your most important flow. Get it right and you'll turn subscribers into buyers and set the tone for your entire email program. Get it wrong and they'll forget that you exist by tomorrow. All right, so just to go through the welcome series first and foremost, obviously the welcome series is going to be the first flow that people receive when they first opt in to your pop-up form. And so we want to make sure that that first email is 100% perfect from the very beginning. And so the purpose of that first email is to, number one, deliver the promise. We want to have the incentive above the fold, meaning that, if you're offering, X% off on someone's first order, we want to make that offer nice and clear with the call to action button above the fold so that someone doesn't have to scroll, especially on mobile, to be able to click that email and then go to your website so that way they can place an order. We also want to give a short brand introduction that kind of explains who you guys are, what you sell, what mission you're on, etc. So that way people can really feel introduced to the brand in the right way. And then again, we want to have a strong CTA and even multiple CTAs throughout this email so that way we can remind people about their offer and get them to come back to the website to place their first order. The second email I recommend actually sending 12 hours later, and that's going to be more of like a founder check-in email. And it's going to be a completely plain text email. It's going to have a warm personal tone with the founder's voice, and we're going to be softly reminding them of the discount. And with this email, the reason why it performs so well is because it is plain text. It looks like it's actually written by the founder. The whole purpose of this email is to come off very, very genuine, and we want to make the subscriber feel like the founder literally just hit the compose button on Gmail and is writing an email to a friend. So as you can see in this example right here, it says, "Hey Siv, we know you just joined our email list a few hours ago. We wanted to send a quick personal note to say thanks. We're the team at Mellow Sleep. We started this company because we were tired of waking up either sweating or shivering every night. Traditional comforters, etc., etc. That's why we created temperature control comforter. Most people start with our temperature control comforter since it solves the biggest sleep problems we hear about." So basically kind of mentioning product that is a bestseller that people might be interested in. And then if you're planning to check out the site, don't forget your code. And then you can also mention the discount code. And then we're gonna have a CTA here. In this case, we actually mentioned the team. We signed off as the team, but I would say if you have the option to, I would sign off as the founder with like the founder's first and last name. And then underneath you could say founder of, XYZ brand. That tends to work out a lot better. With this brand, they weren't comfortable using the founder's name, which is totally fine. In that case, if you don't want to use your own name, I highly recommend just saying like, the team or something along those lines. Now, the next email is going to be a brand story plus urgency email. Basically, that's going to be like your last chance discount reminder email. We want to also mention like the founder story. So like why you started the brand, sort of the backstory behind, developing out the product and the problem that you're aiming to solve. And then we want to have like an emotional CTA in this email as well. And then a day later, we're going to send email number 4. So this is a really interesting concept because we want to focus on our social proof and pain points, right? We want to kind of go back and understand like why are people interested in your brand and your products in the first place? Why did people even sign up? So we want to, in that case, call out common pain points. We want to match each pain point with a review, and we want to reinforce trust. So the whole purpose of this email is to build trust and really hone in on the pain points that people might be going through. And so again, with this email right here by Yum Earth, they say what our fans say about our treats. And then they have very, very specific reviews. Like, it's hard to live life without food allergies, but Yum Earth makes it much more sweet. I found these and said, what the heck, let's try them. They are better than Skittles according to my 7-year-old. The best gummy bears I've ever had, hands down. My 5-year-old son is picky about fruit snacks and he loves these fruit snacks. So basically just, hammering, really good, powerful reviews that you might have. And then obviously the CTA button with the discount code and then the footer. Now, if we go down, we're gonna have the best seller spotlight. So here's where you want to be focusing on featuring your best selling product. If you have multiple products, you might have 1, maybe 2 SKUs that are like your ultimate like breadwinners in terms of revenue. So you want to focus on just that product and you want to explain why it's a bestseller in detail, right? And with this email too, I always recommend incorporating some customer reviews to make it even more compelling. But overall, this whole purpose of this email should be focusing on the bestsellers. And then one day later, we're going to send a final urgency email, right? So it's going to be a plain text email from the founder. It's going to be with the discount slightly upgraded upgraded. So, if you're offering 10% off on the discount code originally, maybe we can bump this up to 15%. Or if you're offering 15%, you can bump it up to 20%. We just want to kind of upgrade the discount, because if they go through this flow, this entire flow at this point, and they still haven't made a purchase yet, then perhaps increasing the discount slightly can kind of get them over the edge. But in this email, we want to have a hard 24-hour deadline on that discount, and we want to have one really strong, compelling CTA. And so with this email, it says, hey, Siv, the final 24 hours, and I wanted to tell you why this matters. Vishal and I were kids. Our mom made us these drinks. Years later, we finally got it. Your founder code gets you 15% off, but expires tomorrow at midnight. This isn't just a discount, it's honoring the recipes that raised us. Ready to taste what our moms always knew worked, and then claim your 15% off CTA link directly back to the site. And then cheers, Parit Patak, founder of Jungly. So again, this is the kind of founder sign off that you wanna have. And this email absolutely crushes it, right? Because people are going through this entire flow, they haven't purchased yet. Now they're hearing again from the founder with the plain text email, and their discount code is being upgraded. They're gonna be a lot more likely to convert once they see this email. So that kind of wraps it up. So we have 6 emails total, and typically the welcome series is gonna have more emails than your other standard flow emails. And that's because we really wanna take that time and opportunity to nurture and indoctrinate people into the brand and show them, number one, who we are, what we stand for, why our products matter, and why customers love shopping with us. The next flow every brand needs is the site abandonment flow. This one triggers when a subscriber visits your website, but then leaves without actually checking out any specific products. This is your second chance to pull them back and point them in the right direction. Just for context, most brands I audit don't even have this set up. And honestly, if you're spending any amount of money on ads to bring traffic to your site, then just letting these visitors disappear without putting up a fight is just leaving money on the table. So with the site abandonment flow, right, we have the first email. We're gonna be triggering this 2 hours after someone is active on your site. So if someone is coming to your website and 2 hours go by and they haven't made any further action, like they haven't viewed a product, they haven't added to cart, they haven't started a checkout, they definitely haven't made a purchase. Well, then 2 hours later after that, we're gonna be sending them this first email. And I like to kind of call this the mini homepage email, because at this point they've just looked at your website, they haven't actually browsed any specific products. So we want to kind of take the whole website approach and put that into an email. So you can see with this specific brand that we work with, they're called Beach Ball, and they have a variety of different flavors on their homepage. These are kind of their hero flavors right here, like strawberry hibiscus, white peach, and grapefruit basil mint. So without singling out any specific product, we want to kind of reintroduce people back into the flavors that were originally on the homepage of their website. And you can even see the copy here itself says, our organic iced teas are all about that natural, refreshing boost, packed with vitamins plus antioxidants, minus the sugar crash drama. So why not dive back in, grab a pack, and join the beach ball party? So it's kind of like light, fun copy, and then we have the main flavors that are already featured on the homepage. So again, this is kind of a mini homepage. We want to have the hero section featuring bestsellers, like which we are, bold direct headline, and then again clear CTA buttons throughout the email. So in the second email, we want to send that around 1 day later. I like to do 22 hours later, so it's a full 24 hours since they've been active on site. And this one, again, I like to do a plain text email again, because it establishes trust, kind of cuts through the noise on the inbox, and it humanizes the brand as well, because with this day and age, there's so many brands out there that just send very, very heavily graphically designed emails with tons of images. And so we want to kind of humanize the brand in a way and cut through the noise by having plain text emails written by the founder, right? So plain text from the founder's name. We want to have a warm personal intro and also a friendly CTA. You can see in this example, it says, we started Exhibitive because I believe art should transform spaces, not just fill them. I know choosing art for your space is deeply personal. If you need help finding the right collection or have any questions about our pieces, just hit reply. I'd love to help you create something amazing. So this line in general is just so powerful, because it's actually showing that the founder cares about your journey with the brand and your shopping experience, right? If you're having any trouble finding anything, or if you have any questions, the founder is there to help you out, which is really, really meaningful, because lots of brands out there, they just don't care enough. Like they're just huge corporations that won't reach out to you personally like the founder would. So yeah, we sign off as Marcel. P.S. Personally, I'm loving the Nora collection lately. So we're even having a recommendation from the founder in the P.S. line. The sophisticated monochromatic aesthetic works beautifully in any space while making a real statement. Most collectors find it's the perfect starting point. So just a gentle suggestion at the end here, but overall, this is a really, really compelling site abandonment email that's not really pushy in terms of sales, but just gently nudging them back to come back to the website and continue browsing. By the way, if you want to see real examples of these flows in action, I put together a 130-page email marketing playbook that consists of flows that we've actually built for clients, plus all of the strategies that we use. The link to grab that is in the description below. Now, let's say someone is on your site, they view a product, or maybe even view multiple products, but they leave your site without actually adding to cart or initiating a checkout. The thing is, this isn't a casual visitor. They actively sought out a specific product, which means that their intent is much higher than someone that just abandons your website. The browse abandonment flow is your critical point to re-engage them at that exact point of interest. With the browse abandonment flow, I recommend having 3 emails total. So 2 hours after someone views a product, right, they're going to be getting this first email. Really, the purpose of the first email is just to give them a gentle reminder of the exact product that they viewed. So we want to have a dynamic product block. So on Klaviyo, you're actually able to have a dynamic product block, so we can show people the exact product that they are viewing on your site when they left. We want to have a friendly reminder headline and then a clear CTA. So this is a perfect example of an email that says, these products look pretty nifty, huh? We have a nice hero image with the different products that they offer. They look even better on your skin. Check these products out and join thousands of other men who also made a great decision. So we have, some social proof there, plus a CTA button. And then this is the dynamic block that I'm referring to. So this is the product that someone was viewing, but then they left because they didn't add to cart. We have the price right here. We have another CTA that says add to cart. So if they click this button, they'll be taken back to the product page where then they can actually add to cart. And we have some, some value points right here, like vegan, cruelty-free, sustainable, all natural, and then the footer. So that's the first email, the browse abandonment. Again, we're not doing any crazy hard selling here, right? Like we're just saying, hey, letting you know that we know that you left this behind and wanted to give you a gentle reminder to come back and, resume where you left off. Second email, we're gonna be focusing on social proof. So we wanna kind of incorporate some relatable social proof and testimonials that people can really resonate with. Another thing that I like to do is like FOMO driven copy. So like basically FOMO is the fear of missing out. So we wanna make people feel like they are missing out on the benefits of the product and just the benefits of being part of the buyer community if they don't make a purchase. And then also just layering in some trust signals as well, 5-star reviews, any sort of, credibility that you guys have, etc. And that's kind of the whole goal of this email. So the social proof email, it's going to be the whole purpose of email number 2. So I actually recommend on the last email of the browse abandonment flow that you do the same exact offer that you're offering on the welcome series, but just change the discount code to something fresh. So that way people feel like they're getting a brand new offer, even though that, the code is the same. So we're going to be using a new discount code, but if you're offering, let's say 15% off on the welcome series, I recommend also doing 15% off on this last email of the browse abandonment. We want to use urgency driven copy. And again, we want to have a dynamic product block, which by the way, we want to have dynamic product blocks throughout all of these browse abandonment emails. And one more thing I also wanted to mention here as well is that obviously with the discount code, we don't want to mention any sort of discount codes in the first couple of emails, because realistically, like people are abandoning the product page or even their cart because they just genuinely got distracted. So we don't want to give them a discount code prematurely if they would have came back and bought something at full price anyways. So that's the strategic reason why we're intentionally leaving out the discount code on the first couple of emails, and we're intentionally leaving the discount code on the last email because if a couple days have gone by since they viewed a product and they've already received 2 emails reminding them and they still haven't purchased yet, then price could likely be an issue and a valid objection on why they didn't purchase yet. And so that's the reason why we're saving the discount and we're playing that card in the last email of the sequence. And we've seen that, saving that discount for the last email of the sequence tends to work really, really well. Now, these next 2 flows are called the cart abandonment and the checkout abandonment. I've audited hundreds of Klaviyo accounts at this point, and I can tell you for a fact that 90% of brands don't have the abandoned cart set up, and a lot of people aren't even aware that the abandoned cart trigger even exists. To be clear, the cart abandonment is when someone clicks the add to cart button and adds an item to their cart but doesn't initiate checkout, whereas the abandoned checkout is when someone actually clicks the initiate checkout button but then doesn't complete a purchase. So for the abandoned checkout specifically, what this means is that someone viewed a product, they added that item to their cart, they even initiated a checkout, but then something distracted them and they never finished their purchase. And these people were just inches away from buying. The sale is literally right there, and the only job that you have at this point is to figure out what stopped them from actually purchasing and making it as easy as possible for them to finish their purchase. So for the abandoned cart and the abandoned checkout, we're gonna have a total of 4 emails that we're gonna be doing. And so the first email is gonna be sent exactly 30 minutes after they abandon their cart or checkout. And the biggest mistake I see across many brands that I audit is that the time delay is just simply too long between when someone actually abandons and when they receive the first email. Oftentimes I see brands waiting 2, 3, 4 hours. And if you wait that long, then you're probably going to be losing a lot of interest from these, customers or potential customers that are, abandoning your cart, because literally every 10 to 15 minutes that goes by after someone abandons, they're just going to be losing more and more and more interest. And so I've actually A/B tested this very, very heavily. And I found that 30 minutes against, even 1 hour or an hour and a half tends to be the outperformer out of all the time delays. So the amount of time that we like to wait, again, is 30 minutes. And the first email is just going to be a gentle reminder. So similar to the browse abandonment that I already explained, we don't want to go too heavily into hard selling here. We just want to gently remind them and nudge them that they left an item in their cart. As always, we want to have a dynamic product block showing them the exact product that they were abandoning on their cart or checkout. And we want to have a gentle nudge, no pressure, like I said, and we want to have one clear CTA button in this email. For the abandoned cart specifically, the CTAs are going to link directly back to the cart page. And for the abandoned checkout, Klaviyo actually has the ability to get their entire checkout page loaded. So that way when they click that CTA button, it'll go directly back to the checkout page with all the items that they were checking out on. And so yeah, we want to make sure that we are leading people exactly back to where they dropped off in the funnel. So if they dropped off on the product page, we're leading them back to the exact product page that they dropped off. If they dropped off on the cart page, we're leading them back to the cart page. If they dropped off at the checkout page, we're leading them back to the checkout page. And the benefit of the checkout page is obviously we're going to be able to, have all the different items that they left behind. So it's going to be a lot more relevant, and it's going to be a lot more likely for them to actually move forward and make a purchase. Email number 2 is going to be sent exactly 1 day later. So we're going to have a social proof email. So again, this is going to be all focused on social proof. We want to have customer testimonials, dynamic product tables, and a clear, reassuring CTA. So in this email here, you can see that we have a nice hero text that says you left some fur behind. But don't worry, plenty of wild wares are waiting for you. Come back and finish what you started. So very, very simple body copy there. We have your cart. Again, this is a dynamic product block. We're showing them an image of the product that they were viewing, or the product in this case that they were abandoning the cart or checkout for. We're showing them the title of the product, the price, and the quantity, and then we have a CTA to shop now. Again, if they click this, it should link to the cart page or the checkout page, depending on which flow you're working on. And underneath that, we have some other options that they can look at. So we got you covered, join the pack and embrace your wild side with your new wild coat goods. And these are all really, really popular collections. In case they maybe are no longer interested in this product, at least they have the option to click on any of these collections right here. And then again, like I said, we want to focus on the social proof in this email. If you guys have the ability to actually showcase images of customers wearing the product or using the product, that's going to be a lot, more compelling than just a plain text review. And so in this case, we have both, right? We have the image of someone, we have the person's name, we have 5 stars. We actually have the text part of the review right here, and then we have the same thing for all of these is here right here as well. So again, this is probably the best style of a review that you can do. If you're able to have someone's image of someone wearing or using or somehow showing off the product, that's going to be the best style of review that you can have. So email number 3 is where we're going to start to introduce a discount. What I like to do and what I've seen to work really, really well these days is using a mystery style discount. I like to do a mystery discount hook with urgency messaging and have a casual, fun tone. So the way that I like to kind of structure this is let's say that you're willing to offer 20% off to your customers on the abandoned checkout. What if we just say you can get up to 40% off, but in reality, they're going to be getting 20% off. Let's say they're going to get up to 40% off by entering the code mystery at checkout. And so what'll happen there is that they're going to be super intrigued and excited because they might think that, I might get up to 40% off, but the only way that for me to know that is to actually go to your checkout page and actually, enter the mystery code and see what I get. With this email right here, you can see, what's your secret discount? We've got something special hidden just for you, but you'll have to check it out to see it. Up to 40% off with code mystery. And then if they click on reveal your discount, it's going to take them to the checkout page. They're going to enter the code mystery. And although they're not going to be getting 40% off, they're still going to be getting 20% off. And once they see that reduction in the subtotal, even at 20%, which is pretty significant, they're going to be a lot more likely to just, jump over the hurdle and convert just because they're already on the checkout page. They're already seeing a pretty massive reduction in the subtotal. This basically kind of sparks curiosity because again, they might think that they're getting, 25, 30, 35, even up to 40%, but they have to go to the checkout to enter their discount to know that. So we've seen this type of email work really, really well. So I highly encourage, you test this for your brand as well. And then one day later, we're gonna have the founder's last chance. So we're gonna be using the same exact offer that we used for email number 3, and we're gonna be implementing that as a founder plain text email. And remember, like we're only saving these discounts for the last, third and fourth email of this flow. Notice how we're not, implementing any discounts in the first couple of emails. So this last email basically says like, hey, it's Danielle from XYZ brand. Life gets busy, but this one's too good to miss. Your code can unlock anywhere from 20 to 40% off our raw coconut oil. We rarely offer discounts this steep, so it's perfect time to stock up. The key here is that we're using the language up to 40% off. We're not saying that they're gonna unlock 40% off. It just says your code can unlock anywhere from 20 to 40% off. But again, the discount code can be whatever you want. Just pop mystery in at checkout and your savings will reveal themselves. We have a CTA button, and then with gratitude, founder's name, and then the brand name. 4 total emails here. The discount gets introduced in the 3rd email, and then we have a plain text email lastly to just, close the sale basically. Now, I've noticed that most brands make the sale and then just immediately move on. That's a huge mistake. Right after someone buys is actually when they're most engaged with your brand. They just pulled out their credit card and handed you their money. They're excited, they're paying attention, and they're waiting to feel good about that decision. That window is your chance to squash any buyer's remorse, build loyalty, and you can kind of look at it as if you're planting a seed for the next purchase before the excitement fades. This is where the customer post-purchase flow plays a big role. So for the new customer post-purchase flow, we're gonna be having 4 emails here. And the first email is pretty common, right? It's just a founder thank you. With this email, we really just wanna give genuine gratitude. We wanna ease buyer's remorse and really just make customers feel like they made an awesome decision shopping with you. And we wanna look at ways that we can also offer support as well. So if anyone has any questions in the meantime while they're waiting for their order, we wanna make customers feel like they can reach out to us still, and they, if they have any questions at all. One day later, we're gonna send email number 2. That's commonly where we want to kind of set some expectations and also talk about the mission that we're on. So as far as expectation goes, like talking about when they can expect to, receive their order, how long shipping usually takes, when they can expect to receive tracking if they can. Again, like I said, we want to talk about the mission that the brand is on as well. And so for example, with this, you can see, your purchase creates impact. So like fair trade support, feeding children, sustainable practices, medical grade mission, that sort of thing. So if there's like any specific like goals or missions that the brand has, it's the perfect place to kind of implement it as someone is engaged as a buyer with your company. We just want to give tons of gratitude and reassurance, really just make customers again feel like they made a great buying decision shopping with you compared to other competitors. And then 3 days later, we can have like a product education email. This kind of goes in hand with like if there's any sort of use cases for your product or recipes or different ways that people, customers out there use the product, we can kind of educate people about that. The tone here is really just going to be really helpful and supportive. You can see with this brand right here, it's like a cocktail company that we work with. We basically say like 1 bottle, endless possibilities, try these cocktail recipes. And so we're linking them basically to like a blog article with like tons of different recipes that they can use based off of this like cocktail concoction that they bought. And another note, by the way, is like, you can play around with the time delays. Like these time delays are nothing that, that is set in stone. You might have to play around with your time delays based on like when your shipping times are and like when orders are planned to be delivered. There's no hard rule for this, but I like to generally start with like, 3-day time delay here. And then as we go into this other email, we have a 10-day time delay. This is the email where we like to check in and ask for a review. So again, like I said, you might want to play around with this time delay here because we want to give enough time for someone to actually receive the product, use the product, and form an opinion about the product. And so we want to kind of ask like a check-in question. We want to softly ask for the review and maybe even have an adjacent product recommendation. So, with this brand Nori, what they do is like, they say, loving your wrinkle-free wardrobe. And then we have 5 stars. We'd love to hear all about the steamy details. So notice how the copy kind of is on brand as well. Leave us a review and receive 10% off your next purchase. And then Spill. So this Spill is gonna link them to a page where they can leave reviews. We have a nice hero image at the top. Let's talk about the ironing board in the room. And we have another CTA button where they can leave a review. Again, it's a very, very simple email where we're just gently asking them for a review. And by the time you send this email, again, we wanna make sure that you have enough of a time delay. So it could be 10 days, 14 days, 21 days, depending on your shipping times, where someone can actually receive the email, use the product, and have enough time to actually see if the product works for them. And then we can, safely ask for a review. Now, let's say a customer hasn't purchased in around 60 days or so. Most brands would just write them off and just never reach out to them again. But here's the thing, if they bought once and they never came back, well, they're not lost. It just means that they forgot that you exist. That's exactly what the customer win-back flow is for. It's your nudge to remind them why they bought in the first place and give them a reason to actually come back. Because instead of pouring all of your time and energy into chasing new customers, you should be going after the customers who already trusted you enough to buy. Fun fact, it actually costs 5 to 25 times more to acquire a new customer than to keep an existing one, and the probability of selling again to an existing customer is around 60 to 70%. That's not a small difference. That's where the smart money goes. All right, so for the customer win-back flow, this is a very, very important flow in terms of customer retention. So the first email, we wanna wait about 60 to 75 days. Again, this is gonna be dependent on like your buying life cycle and sort of your customer behavior. So you can play around and even A/B test the time delays, but just for the sake of example, we have a 75-day time delay here between when someone places an order and then the time goes by and they never place an order again after that. So email number 1 is basically just gonna be a friendly check-in and just acknowledgement that, we missed them and that they haven't really been active with the brand in a while, which is true because trigger for this is they've placed an order, but they haven't placed an order since they've placed that first order. And then we also want to, kind of mention an incentive. Usually with the customer win-back flows, an incentive is really, really powerful because it gets people and it motivates people to place another order right away. And we want to have a clear CTA here. So in this example here, you can see with this brand Wooflore that we work with, we have a nice hero image right at the top right here. We have some text that says, hey, first name, been a while, so we wanted to drop you a line to say we miss you. Plus we've got an exclusive 15% off your next portrait. Treat your furry friends to another portrait because you can never have too many portraits of your bestie. Notice how the copy is like nice and fun. Or share this offer with another pet parent so they can also treat their babies to something they'll cherish forever. This offer is valid for the next 3 days, so we have some urgency baked in here, so grab it while you still can. And then we have like a cutout of the discount code, CTA button, and then also some other product recommendations. So it's a great opportunity in this email to show, other collections that you might have because they might have purchased something from one collection, but they might not be aware of, other collections that you might have on your site. That's kind of the purpose of this email here. And then about 10 days later, we have email number 2. So email number 2 is going to be focused on social proof and reminding them of the discount code. What I also recommend here is just suggesting some popular products as well. So in this email, you can see that, it's been a while. We haven't forgotten about your furry friend's health. So we have a discount reminder, save 10% off with code comeback and cue the tail wags and extra kisses. Some social proof emails right here. This is actually a GIF, which is really cool. So we can actually rotate through different different reviews from different customers. And we have a shop now CTA, and you can see this email is like super on brand, super colorful. This is the vibe that we really want to go for across all the emails in general. And then lastly, we have the last email of the customer win back. This is a founder plain text email. So it's a founder's final notice. We want to have an urgent reminder of the discount code that we just talked about. And we want to have gratitude for their past support, right? We have to remember like these are previous customers that have bought from us. So we want to kind of thank them for, being part of the community and just being on our email list as well for this long. So this is like an example that I created for Gymshark specifically. So this email says, hi, Michelle, Ben here from Gymshark. I wanted to reach out personally before your $20 off returning customer code expires tonight. I've been thinking a lot about why people join our community in the first place. It's not just the gear, it's what it represents. Taking care of yourself, showing up, finding that spark again when life gets heavy or busy. You're part of that journey with us once, and I haven't forgotten that. So again, kind of reminding them and showing gratitude for the past. If you've been meaning to get back into your routine or grab something that helps you feel good in the gym again, your code 20FIT is active until midnight. After that, it switches off. Again, we're instilling some urgency here. Either way, thank you for being part of what we've built. Come back strong. So it's not just a shop now CTA, it's actually a really compelling emotional CTA here that we're using. And then we're signing off as the founder, Ben Francis, founder Gymshark. And then we have a PS section at the bottom that says, if you want suggestions based on how you train, just hit reply. I'm happy to help. So as you can see, the pattern across all of these different emails is that we have tons of social proof. We have dynamic blocks where necessary on the browse abandonment, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout. And most importantly, we're also using some plain text emails to, again, humanize the brand, build trust, cut through the noise, and really just make customers feel like there's someone behind the brand that genuinely cares about their experience. And if we're able to nail all of this, that's how you're gonna be able to get the most out of your flows. And if you wanna go even deeper on these flows, well, like I said, I put together a 130-page email marketing playbook that shows real examples behind results like these and the complete flow chart for every single flow that we've covered today, plus some extra ones. The link to go grab it is in the description. But knowing this and fixing this are two completely different things. So if you want me to take a look at your email flows personally, tell you exactly what you're doing wrong and what I would do to fix it, then a link is in the description to book a free call with me. We've already done this for over 150 plus e-commerce brands and have generated over $100 million in email revenue. So just by looking at your account, I'm going to be able to tell you exactly what needs to be fixed. The spots are filling out quickly, so make sure to grab your spot. That's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one.